Tonight, public services under pressure. Glasgow City Council says it's struggling to cope with the demand from homeless refugees and asylum seekers. Key figures meet to discuss the crisis.
We're not building homes or bridges, we're creating divisions between communities.
Also making the headlines, trade tariffs overshadow the Tartan Week parade in New York as an all-out trade war is launched. A call for more recognition for premenstrual dysphoric disorder, a mental health condition which can affect around 1 in 20 women. And in sports, Scotland are crowned world curling champions after their dramatic win in the final. I'm John Mackay. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. As a country, Scotland has always prided itself on its open door policy to those fleeing their home country. But could that be about to change? Glasgow City Council has said the number of homeless refugees and asylum seekers is putting public services under too much pressure and they're struggling to cope with the demand. A UK government minister cancelled their attendance at a meeting this morning with the Scottish Government, Council and other representatives to discuss the worsening situation in the city. Vanessa Taff has more.
Marcel fled Afghanistan just days before the Taliban invasion. Glasgow is her new home, but securing a roof over her head when she first arrived was challenging.
It takes time to settle down and also get used to the situation. It was a very bad shock for me. When you are in a good housing situation and then you're able to communicate with other people around you and make friends, which helps a lot. Having a sense of community and welcomed is everything.
Housing is the foundation of the integration journey for people seeking protection.
Around the table this morning, a meeting with the city's key figures to deal with the increasing numbers of homeless refugees. Glasgow houses around 4,000 asylum seekers, which the council have warned is too many to cope with.
We need to recognise why people are being made homeless and prevent that homelessness. That's why, when we're dealing with a situation in Glasgow, we do need to look at the number of people coming through the asylum process that are creating those additional challenges. But we work with the council, have been doing and will continue to do so, and I hope the UK government does the same.
The city has declared a housing emergency with record numbers of people living in temporary accommodation.
We're not building homes or bridges, we're creating divisions between communities. And I think if we have a solution to something like homelessness, which is damaging lives, we need to be able to find solutions that are encompassing of everyone's needs, and particularly those who are looking for our compassion and kindness.
The city has built its reputation on being welcoming and open to everyone from all races and nationalities. It's proud of its motto, People Make Glasgow. But this statement from the council has caused some to doubt that reputation.
We will always be a welcoming city, and Glasgow's world renowned for its welcoming nature, and we will continue to do so. I suppose where we're coming from is that has to be backed up with finances and funding from UK government to ensure that we've got the kind of facilities to be able to actually deal with some of the issues that we've got here.
The Home Office said they're supporting councils as they deal with an asylum backlog. They also said there needs to be a smooth transition when it comes to housing people who are granted status to remain. For those who are settled here, the feeling of uncertainty over the future for others isn't far from their mind. Vanessa Taff, STV News in Glasgow.
This is a moment for cool heads. That's the warning from the Prime Minister as the impact of President Trump's tariffs are felt across the world's financial markets. Today, Keir Starmer pledged to back British business against US tariffs. Meanwhile, the First Minister held talks with business leaders on the last day of a visit to New York, which saw him join the Tartan Week parade at the weekend. Paris Goutsianis reports on a celebration that was overshadowed by the launch of a global trade war.
Tartan Week began with high hopes of boosting Scottish business in America. Donald Trump had other plans.
We're going to have to go through a little tough love, maybe, but they all understand. They're ripping us off, and they understood it.
Like the weather, it wasn't the perfect backdrop to the grand finale.
We try our best. We brought the bagpipes, we brought the tattoo, we brought the tartan, we brought the rain.
As pipe bands gathered a couple of blocks away, New York's first major anti-Trump protest was drawing tens of thousands. For some, including Parade Grand Marshal Alan Cumming, their hearts were in two places at once.
For me, I think what this is about is celebrating Scotland and the values that we hold dear as Scots. And I think, as I said ironically, just along the road, there are Americans protesting the lack of those values in their country right now.
We don't want anybody giving us a dictatorship.
We think that we should work with our allies, not against them.
We'd like some marching music.
Some bagpipes.
Bagpipes to march by.
People said she's really a legend. Well, of course she's legend. She's legendary.
Even Nessie was getting a bit political.
She's the only foreigner that Donald Trump cannot deport. She'll eat him.
Scottish pride, like the sun, kept breaking through.
My great-grandfather emigrated from Ayrshire, and the Scottish tradition has always been very strong in our family, and we feel very fortunate that it was preserved.
We're loving to have you here. Thank you so much. My mom would be proud.
And where was she from?
From Edinburgh.
And it's just great to be here. We're here on holiday and we're having a great time.
We love the Scottish people, we love their hospitality, and every time we visit them, they make us feel welcome, and some of our best friends live in Falkirk.
For Scotland's leaders gathered in New York, the message was, keep calm and carry on marching.
But what we've got to concentrate on is what I've been doing over the last couple of days, which is concentrate on direct investment discussions to bring investment into Scotland.
We've got to make sure we're moving forward to try and find an active trade deal that is good for the goods in Scotland, but also helps remove those tariffs.
Behind the scenes at Tartan Week, businesses were also beating the drum for new investment in Scotland. Gillian Fleming brought her angel investment company, aimed at women entrepreneurs, to Tartan Week for the first time.
We've had so many doors open to us, and Tartan Week is certainly something we're going to be coming back to.
In the end, the sun and the message of transatlantic friendship shone through, even if we still don't know which way Donald Trump's tariffs will lead. Paris Gretzianis, STV News, New York.
A woman who was left in the dark around her mental illness for over 20 years says she wants to see more recognition of her condition. Premenstrual dysphoric disorder, or PMDD, wasn't officially recognised as a mental health disorder until 2013, but it can affect around 1 in 20 women. Researchers say they'd like to see it more widely acknowledged in government health strategies. Amy Flett has been finding out more.
Felt suicidal, irritable, felt like throwing the towel in.
Every day, Lynn keeps a diary of how she's feeling whilst tracking her menstrual cycle. And after being in the dark around her mental health for over 20 years, it's what eventually led her to be diagnosed 8 years ago with premenstrual dysphoric disorder, or PMDD, something she'd never even heard of before.
Early 20s, I would say, things were really quite bad. My moods would be up and down, you know, and I would be phoning the doctors once I was feeling really poorly and feeling really anxious and just not feeling myself. And then by the time I get the appointment with the doctors the next week, I'd be like, oh, I'm all right again.
Symptoms might start around a week or so before your period.
PMDD is a severe form of premenstrual syndrome that causes extreme mood swings, depression and anxiety before a period due to hormone changes. And those who suffer from it often describe feeling like a completely different person from one week to the next. It wasn't officially recognised as a mental disorder until 2013. For Lynn, her diagnosis finally provided the answers she'd been searching for, and last week she had a hysterectomy to help relieve some of her symptoms.
It was so good to get a diagnosis at that point, but I didn't think I was going to have to wait this long to kind of have a resolution to it. I had to phone up gynaecology in one of my worst days, you know, where I really did feel quite suicidal, and that's when I get kind of fast-tracked. I would rather have physical pain than emotional pain at this stage.
PMDD affects around 1 in 20 women. Of those, 1 in 3 attempt suicide and half self-harm.
Lindsay has been involved in leading the UK's first research agenda for PMDD. She'd like to see the condition more widely recognised in the Scottish Government's Women's Health Plan.
In the monthly menstrual cycle, we have these wild fluctuations that happen every 2, 3 and 4 weeks. So people have these strong reactions which result in significant emotional disturbance, suicidality, feelings of self-harm, and lots of other confusing symptoms which then disappear when their period begins. But we're very much at the early stages of fully understanding what the causes are.
I recognise that Dr Matthews has done a huge amount of research in her work, and she will be meeting with members of the Scottish Government so that they can update to ensure that in the next iteration of the Women's Health Plan, which we're working on just now, actually has good coverage of menstrual health, including PMDD.
For Lynn, she'd like to see more education around PMDD in schools and amongst GPs.
My life has been not completely ruined, you know, I've got my boys and I've got a supportive family, but I just feel that I don't want to see other women or other teenagers having to go through it and not know what's going on with them.
Amy Flett, STV News.
And help is available if you've been affected by any of the issues in Amy's report. Details are on screen. Staff at the University of Edinburgh could take industrial action over proposed budget cuts, with fears it could lead to compulsory redundancies. UCU members are being balloted over the proposals. The university says drastic action is needed to make it sustainable. Well, Lewis Mickey is on campus this evening. So Lewis, how have we got here?
Well, John, this comes as the university looks to make £140 million worth of cuts to its budget, and the University and College Union were asking for a commitment that compulsory redundancies would not be part of those plans, a commitment it says it hasn't received. Now, the principal here, Sir Peter Matheson, has said that currently the institution's finances are not sustainable. The university isn't operating at a deficit at the moment, but it does say that if drastic action isn't taken, it could be within the next 2 years. Meanwhile, the UCU say this level of cutback is unnecessary.
We're really concerned that there's maybe a wee bit of cynicism here, piggybacking onto the crisis that we've seen in a number of institutions, because the University of Edinburgh is in profit, it doesn't have a deficit, and indeed it's a really asset-rich university, it's a successful university. It doesn't need to make the level of cuts that they're claiming they do.
So what happens next, Lewis?
Well, the UCU ballot closes on the 20th of May. Unison are also consulting its members. That closes on the 25th of April. But long-term, nationally here, something has to give. Universities say that Scotland has become less attractive to fee-paying international students at the same time that the Scottish Government's funding for free tuition for Scottish students, they say, hasn't risen in line with inflation. Peter Matheson was even saying at the weekend that we need to look at free tuition and if we should continue with that. But that is a policy that the Scottish Government says it remains committed to. John.
Lewis in Edinburgh, thank you. Well, later we'll hear if this warm spell will continue. But while some have been enjoying the rising temperatures, firefighters have been working around the clock as wildfires ravage parts of the country. 6 people had to be rescued by helicopter following a blaze in Galloway. That one is now under control, but other wildfires are still burning this evening. Caitlin Hutchison reports.
They can spread rapidly and consume vast areas, ravaging acres upon acres of land in their path. This blaze began in the Glentrool area of the Galloway Forest Park almost 5 days ago and has since stretched up to Loch Doon in East Ayrshire.
At the height of the fire, it's affected roughly about 5,000 hectares, and we are currently maintaining our focus in dealing with the fire and fighting the fire from above using a number of helicopters.
At times we had 2 to 3 mile long fire fronts. The big problem that we had were people on the hill that we didn't know their location, so we actually had to use facilities like our mountain rescue drone to find these people, and once we were found, we then sent hill parties in to evacuate them.
Elsewhere in the country, firefighters are tackling a wildfire north of Ullapool. It's left locals concerned about the devastating consequences wildfires can have on the natural environment.
We're quite aware that no one would do this intentionally, or at least we hope not, but it's just any sort of carelessness can just cause the tiniest spark, and there's so much fuel for it.
I found a slow worm yesterday that had come out of the ground and its face was all burnt and it was dead. We've seen frogs, we've seen birds' nests. It's a tragedy for sure.
The risk of wildfires remains extremely high in certain parts of the country, and with warm, dry weather set to continue in the coming days, the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service is urging everyone to be extra cautious. If you're out and about, remember, no barbecues unless you're in a safe, designated area. Always fully extinguish cigarettes and dispose of them responsibly. Don't light campfires and don't leave litter behind. Even a small piece of glass in direct sunlight can spark a fire. While this wildfire is under control for now, those involved in efforts to extinguish them up and down the country say their danger cannot be overstated. Caitlin Hutchison, STV News.
7 people have been taken to hospital after a fire at a building in Paisley late last night. Emergency services were called to the blaze at Barterholme Road at around 11 o'clock. 8 homes were evacuated and 2 people were treated at the scene. Inquiries into the cause are ongoing. Police say they're looking to speak to a man and woman in connection with an attempted murder in Clydebank. Officers were called to an incident at a property on the Crescent just after 1 o'clock this morning. A 42-year-old man was taken to hospital for treatment. Anyone with CCTV or who may have witnessed anything has been asked to come forward. The mum of a primary 7 pupil with autism is fighting to have her placed in a specialist additional support needs school in North Lanarkshire after the local authority rejected her application. Ruby O'Hara has complex learning difficulties and her mum Jill says she'll suffer if she's placed in a mainstream high school. Tara Fitzpatrick has the story.
11-year-old Ruby has complex needs and learning difficulties. She is diagnosed with autism and gets one-to-one support at her current primary school. But she'll start S1 in August, and North Lanarkshire Council have assessed her as suitable for a mainstream high school, something mum Jill says will leave her isolated and vulnerable.
When I went to the mainstream high school, they only have 2 additional support needs assistants. They're currently supporting around 15 to 16 children every day. Because there's so little staff and so many kids, the kids can't access a full timetable. So they spend most of their day in a support for learning room where they don't get to access school as it's supposed to be. She could just walk out the doors at any time. I mean, what's to stop that from happening? It's a busy road outside. She could get knocked down by a car. She could try and walk home. She's got no sense of direction. She would just get completely lost.
The council use a scoring system to determine if a child is eligible for a specialist school placement. Ruby scored a total of 26 points in her review, but would need 60 to secure a space.
I actually got upset in the meeting because the way the scoring system is designed is that any child with additional support needs in mainstream just cannot get enough points to move into an ASN provision.
A pupil can be classed as having additional support needs, or ASN, for a number of reasons, including autism or ADHD, as well as disabilities, mental health issues or complex home environments. Across Scotland, there is a so-called presumption of mainstream schooling to allow pupils with ASN to be educated alongside their peers with the right support. But annual teacher census figures show that the number of ASN teachers fell in 2024 to a record low of 2,837. That's down from 3,077 in 2014. At the same time, 40% of pupils are now considered to have additional support needs. That's over double the number 10 years ago.
In order for mainstreaming to work for young people, there needs to be a level of support within the classroom setting. And I think because of the cuts that have been made to the additional support need workers within the classrooms, that support's not there.
The Scottish Government said it was for local authorities to identify, meet and keep under review the needs of pupils. North Lanarkshire Council said the review process is thorough, with a panel of experts carefully discussing each case. Jill has challenged the findings of Ruby's review, but faces the prospect that the support she currently receives may not continue.
I wake up during the night and it's all I think about. I've had anxiety, it actually is affecting me mentally and physically because I just don't know what's going to happen at this point.
Tara Fitzpatrick, STV News.
Raman is here, and you'll have plenty to talk about. What a weekend of sport.
No, I have, John. Great Scottish success stories. Scotland's curlers crowned world champions, and snooker John Higgins rolled back the years, and big wins for Glasgow Warriors and Edinburgh in rugby, but not such a good weekend if you're a Celtic or Rangers fan.
Your window to sport. C.R. Smith sponsors STV Sport.
Good evening. Brendan Rodgers has accused some of his players of being too comfortable and timid after Celtic's shock defeat to St Johnstone yesterday. The 1-0 loss means Rodgers' side won't have the chance to be crowned champions when they face Kilmarnock at home this weekend. The Parkhead boss also admits his team's poor start to games is a concern and something he needs to fix. It's rare for Brendan Rodgers to be very critical of his players, but after his team's defeat to the Premiership's bottom side, the Celtic manager didn't miss.
Mentality.
Mentality.
Yes, mentality. It's a group that has mental strength. But I've been in teams, and especially up here, where you just power your way through the season, right to the very end. And there's maybe a few that are comfortable. And comfort is not a physical place. When you're comfortable, you become a bit timid.
Celtic had more than 85 minutes to respond to St Johnstone's early goal, but while they huffed and puffed, they lacked a cutting edge. The defeat is Celtic's fourth league loss since the turn of the year, while they also dropped points away to Dundee. Rodgers knows he has issues to fix.
Poor start to the game, but not the first time. Not the first time, and this is something for me that we will look at, certainly in the summer. The very best players are right on it from minute one. And I'm not talking here about boys like Callum McGregor, who deals with expectation, he deals with being the underdog in the Champions League. There's absolutely no doubt we, around some of our starts, we have some players going in looking for an easy game.
And Ibrox, Rangers' dreadful form at home and Hibs' excellent run continued as David Gray's side took all 3 points. Jack Butland's mistakes are becoming more frequent. His latest gifted the visitors the opener, while Martin Boyle doubled their advantage midway through the second half after a VAR check. That's 16 league games unbeaten for Hibs. That's 5 straight defeats across all competitions for Rangers at Ibrox. Hearts boss Neil Critchley says James Wilson will learn from his red card as a three-way battle to secure the last top 6 spot will go to the final round of fixtures before the split. Wilson was sent off for this foul on Luca Richardson during the 1-0 defeat to Dundee United at Tynecastle yesterday. Sam Dalby netting the winner. St Mirren and Motherwell also lost at the weekend, with Kilmarnock getting a much-needed win against the Steelmen at Rugby Park. They had Kofi Barmer sent off, which Motherwell have appealed. Now, 6th place Hearts are just 1 point above the Saints and Motherwell, meaning it's all still to play for. The last games before the split sees Hearts travel to Fir Park, while St Mirren are at home to Ross County. To curling, and Scotland skip Bruce Mowat has described their World Championship triumph as the highest of the highs. The Scots defeated Switzerland 5-4 in the final in Canada last night to reclaim the world title, which they won 2 years ago. Here's Raheem Cham.
The shot that crowned Scotland world champions.
And this one, no question. Bruce Mowat has done it again. The world #1 is world #1.
Here, I've described it as like Wimbledon for us, I guess, but you know, curling in Canada is pretty special, and then getting playing in front of crowds like the ones that we had this week was incredible. So yeah, I'm just over the moon that we got to experience it again, and to obviously win is amazing.
There was high-level curling from both teams. At the halfway stage, the Scots led 2-1, but the Swiss responded to go in front 3-2. It was 4-all going into the final end. Crucially, Scotland had the last throw and made it count to take gold.
The world title was in Canada, but here in Stirling, at the home of British curling, the success is being celebrated by players at all levels.
The boys did incredible. Obviously, the disappointment of coming 4th last season was a real driving force for them, and I think it showed the benefits almost the hard work they put in the summer this year. Team Mount has set the standard to like another level in men's curling. It's incredible to watch, and I'm almost just in awe of them when they're playing, because any shot is possible for them, and that's a really rare thing to see.
And some believe the latest success is a huge boost for the sport in Scotland.
It's our national sport, so it's critical we keep facilities open. It's critical we keep young people coming in, trying the game, loving the game, and then guess what? They can be the next Bruce Mowat.
There will be little time for Bruce Mowat and his rink to celebrate. They will be back on the ice tomorrow playing the Grand Slam of curling in Toronto. Raheem Cham, STV Sport.
And congratulations to them. To rugby, and Glasgow Warriors number 8, Henko Venter, is set to be banned for their Champions Cup quarter-final against Leinster this weekend after being cited for foul play in their last 16 match against Leicester. Venter, who scored 2 tries in the Warriors' impressive victory, is set to be punished if found guilty of eye gouging. Edinburgh set up a last 8 clash against Bulls in the Challenge Cup after their win over Lions.
There was nothing intentional. He's been held on the ground, and again he wasn't quite sure what was going on, and unfortunately his hand ended up in in Dan Cole's face, and look, if you end up touching someone's face, and whether intentional or not, there's repercussions, so it's something that we're going to have to deal with during the week and see what comes of that.
And that disciplinary hearing for Henko Venter takes place tomorrow, so we should learn tomorrow if he's banned or not. OK, let's give you some snooker news now. And John Higgins has described winning the Tour Championship final as his best achievement in the sport. The 4-time world champion led Mark Selby 5-1, then trailed 8-5, but fought back to win 10-8 to be crowned champion. And you can see what it means to him. The victory moves Higgins up to 3rd in the world rankings.
It's my best ever win. Yeah, never mind world titles or UK. The way Mark was playing to go 8-5, he's thinking his head was spinning, my head was spinning, and I don't know how I've come back, to be brutally honest.
And to get to share the moment with Denise and the children, even better.
Yeah, it's more important. Yeah, it's more important.
Come on, John.
Your window to sport. CR Smith sponsors STV Sport.
An emotional John Higgins there. One final piece of football news. Former Motherwell manager Ian Barclough has been appointed as Partick Thistle's first ever sporting director. That is all the sport tonight. See you again tomorrow. John.
Right, thank you. Well, Sean has the weather, and keep it coming, Sean.
A breezy morning will be followed up with a flurry of fresh delights for lunch. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Very good evening to you. Well, the blue skies ever end, it really feels like they won't at the moment. It's been gorgeous now across western parts of the country for a week or two now, and we've had the highest temperatures. Fort William over the next couple of days, still seeing 18, 19 degrees, a bit of a tail off towards the end of the week, and we will start to see more cloud and the possibility of some drizzle coming in by the time we get to Friday, so a bit of a change. The further east you are, if you're watching from eastern parts, likes of Kincardine, Falkirk, Alloa, and also around the likes of Livingston, Bathgate, bit of a breeze has been coming in from the forth, so the temperatures here have been lower, but they will rise. As the temperatures fall in the west later on the week, they'll start to rise in eastern parts as we see a westerly take up. So by the time we get to Thursday, could see about 18, 19 degrees in some parts of Fife, West Lothian and also North Lanarkshire. A chilly night to come tonight, temperatures down to about 1 or 2 degrees, a wee touch of frost, parts of Stirlingshire, the Highlands, South Ayrshire and also East Ayrshire, South Lanarkshire as well. Into tomorrow, well, again, it's just like the last couple of days. We've still got those blue skies, but because of that gentle easterly, with the winds coming back down the Firth of Forth, again, some central areas about 14, 15 degrees, rising up to 17 to 18 once we get to parts of Argyll and Bute, also around Renfrewshire and Glasgow. Highest temperatures still in the west on Wednesday with lots of sunshine, then the higher temperatures move east on Thursday.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
And that's all from us this evening. Rona will be here with Scotland Tonight at the later time of 11:10. From all of us here, though, thank you for watching. Enjoy your evening. Good night.